वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा, वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह।
वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह।
खालसा वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह।
वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह to all viewers. We are today going to celebrate the Independence Day of United States of America. Today is 4th of July, and we are on here to discuss about the Independence Day. And I want to just start our discussion with Dr. Kirpal Singh. So to just describe the importance of today's day, about today's importance, today's day is important about what is the main, the celebration. So we are going to celebrate main cause. Just to describe like that.
वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह जी। July 4 is a federal holiday.
Yeah.
And this is the day of July 4, 1776 was when Declaration of Independence was declared against Great Britain by the Second Continental Congress. And this was an announcement separation of 13 colonies which existed at that time, that they want no longer any supervision or relationship with the Great Britain.
Yeah.
You know, the Revolutionary War has been going on before that for a while. The reason was that government of Britain was imposing extra taxes on the American people, on the 13 colonies for defense purposes. That was the reason. But there were no consideration of people's own feelings and views and all. So Americans were really angry. When government brought bunch of tea, through ships at the Boston Harbor, they were so angry and they wanted extra tax on them. What they did was, instead of bringing them in the country, they threw them right in the ocean and said, no taxation without representation. That's what they said. And as a result of that, the one thing leading to another, the situation came and the colonies were distraught. People were so distraught, they formed a committee. With the head of that was Thomas Jefferson, and they wrote this Declaration of Independence. And then, of course, it took a significant amount of time for them to go through a lot of battles. Eventually, the Britain General Lord Cornwallis, he surrendered at Yorktown. And then, America declared its
if you try to start when the Britain just captured the whole USA colonies, you know about that from when they start to capture about that in the 13th century or in the 15th century, in which time they are just dominate on the American colonies at that time. If you just describe us from start, because in India they start from 16th century to dominate in the Indian colonies, and when they start the capturing the American, the 13 colonies, from in which century they start to dominate that?
Paitya, can you add on to that?
Well, question is that the whole thing started with Columbus, who discovered America. Or actually, he came to West Indies, and he thought it was the beginning of India, because he had left Portugal in search of India. He wanted to go to India on a different route, the westwards, and instead he came across this whole continent. And when he came to these Caribbean country, he thought that was the beginning of India. But actually, that's why they call these people as Red Indians. They were kind of reddish color, not the Indian brown color. And that's when the whole colonization started. And then the Spanish started coming. And then the British found out, then they started coming. So actually, the whole thing started in 1489, when Columbus first time discovered these parts of the world. So after that, then they came and then they spread all over. They discovered and they went towards Canada. And so there was fighting in the United States, as Dr. Sarvesh just said. They kept on retreating. Ultimately, they did keep Canada. And what Dr. Saab said, that the whole shipload of tea, which came from England, it was thrown into the ocean. That's why it's called a Boston Tea Party. The whole ship of tea leaves was thrown into the ocean. It was in Boston Harbor. So that's why it's known as Boston Tea Party. And the first ship of immigrants from Europe, including British, came so-called the Mayflower ship. And that's when they started coming. I don't know the exact date, but the Boston Tea Party, let me check when it was.
So the thing is that they start to capture in the 14th or maybe in the 13th century about that. The thing is clear about that.
No. 1489, which the 15th century. They just entered the Caribbean country, the West Indies, and slowly
after
they came on shore.
They captured.
Oh yeah, it took them many years, to ultimately recognize that this is a great place to come over and find out what this whole place is all about. So
the question, the next question is that how many areas captured by Britain, how many area captured by Spanish or Portuguese? Do you know about that?
We don't know exactly the history, but I think the perspective over here, because this is a meeting on a short notice, the important perspective over here for us to remember among the Sikh community is, like Indian independence is celebrated on August 15th, here the July 4th. We should take part along with our American friends and others, host the American flag, hoist the American flag on our residences and our buildings, and also talk about with them, participate in the parades and participate in the concerts and other parties, like whatever is possible according to our way of life. The whole idea shows solidarity, because this is the country where we have settled now, and we should take part in their festivals, like the Thanksgiving, Christmas, the same way July 4th, same way like Veterans Day, Memorial Day, all those festivals we should participate. But at the same time, we should not forget our own perspective. If you look at briefly on the timeline, about the time Columbus discovered America, that's around 1499. That's around the time Guru Nanak Sahib started his ministry. When he said, no Hindu, no Muslim. And the same way, that's the same time when we look at the formation of Khalsa, 1699. And that's about 77 years before the British declared the American declared the Declaration of Independence. So the human rights movement and the struggle for acquiring self-sovereignty has been going on in parallel between United States, American people, as well as the Punjabi people in India, especially in the northern part of India. That's the part we need to be conscious. And that's why Khalsa was created as a vanguard of freedom. When it was say Khalsa, jo Nirdan ko pala, Khalsa so jo dush ko gale. And the same way the America, if you look at the Statue of Liberty, that's what it is saying, the Statue of Liberty. Send your underprivileged and hungry and all to here. I will take care of them, help them to flourish.
Good.
And achieve their full potential. And that's what Guru Gobind Singh Sahib did when he started the order of fraternity of Khalsa. See, when we compare those things and go along, look at the importance of these things, how it can help us to take pride in our background, both our Indian heritage, Sikh heritage, Indian heritage, as well as our American, country which we have adopted. On the other hand, look what Kabir ji said when he says, "Sura so pachaniya jo laradin kahe, purja purja kat mara kabuna chhade khet." And that's what happened during the Revolutionary War. That's happened in the War of Independence here in United States. So we have a parallel over here. Even the community of Punjab is a hybrid community. Like in America, here people from all countries mixed with each other when people came through the Khyber Pass. you know, and Greeks came, Arabs came, Persians came, Afghans came. What happened to them? Partly they died, partly they settled over there, intermarried with the local people, and partly went back. And out of that comes the Punjabi community. That's why people were saying, Khada pita lahida, renda khunda ahmad shahida. You never know what will happen, what's in store of us. The same way, there's so much parallel between the developmental history of United States and the developmental history of Northern India, that we should research deep and deep into it and take lessons from it. I wonder what Bajendra Singh ji thinks about it.
I just come to Bajendra Singh ji to tell your views about this Independence Day, and what you feel about the independence of India and America. You tell just comparison, you make comparison between two countries, that how we feel on our Independence Day, how now we feel on here in USA. That happiness, and that happiness is come to the Indian people at this time. You describe your views about that.
देखिए, बहुत बड़ी इवेंट को हम सेलिब्रेट कर रहे हैं आज, और बिना आजादी के आदमी के व्यक्तित्व का विकास नहीं हो सकता.
बिल्कुल.
ह्यूमन पर्सनैलिटी कैन नॉट डेवलप विदाउट फ्रीडम. So we are going to celebrate a great event today, and when we link it with our war of independence in India, our forefathers have fought for the freedom of human personality. So the difference between an animal and a human being is the consciousness of truth, consciousness of justice. आदमी जब इंसाफ की और सच्चाई की लड़ाई के लिए जब लड़ता है, तब सच्चा इंसान कहा जाता है, वरना स्वार्थ के लिए तो पशु भी जीता है.
बिल्कुल.
तो ये बहुत बड़ी इवेंट है, और हम लोगों को अपने देश और समाज में इसके महत्व को समझना चाहिए. और वो लोग जो कि सिर्फ ये समझते हैं कि विकास का मतलब आजादी का, विकास का मतलब सिर्फ बहुत दुनियादारी में सफल होना, ऐसा नहीं है. विकास का मतलब है कि आदमी सच्चाई में आगे बढ़े. ह्यूमन पर्सनालिटी मस्ट डेवलप इन ट्रुथ. सच्चाई से ही सच्चा इंसान बनता है, और खाली स्वार्थ में, लोभ में तो आदमी जिंदगी को नरक बनाता है. तो वो लोग हमारे जो पूर्वज हैं, जिन्होंने सच्चाई की लड़ाई को लड़ा, इंसानियत की लड़ाई को लड़ा, सतनाम की लड़ाई को लड़ा, हम उनको सिर झुकाते हैं. और ये लड़ाई हमारे देश में, हमारे समाज में भी आगे बढ़ती रहनी चाहिए. ह्यूमन पर्सनैलिटी को डेवलपमेंट जब तक नहीं होता, जब तक बुनियादी आदमी की जरूरतें पूरी नहीं होती, आदमी अपने स्वार्थ में दूसरों को वंचित करता है. तो हमारी जो परंपरा रही है वो न्याय की रही है, सच की रही है, सच्चे इंसान की रही है, और उसको हम लोग आगे बढ़ाएं और हम सोचें कि हम लोग क्या कर सकते हैं अपने समाज के लिए.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल, क्योंकि आजादी का मतलब हमारे फंडामेंटल राइट्स जो हमें मिलने चाहिए, चाहे हम यूएस में हैं, यहाँ के लोग यदि ये चीजें मान रहे हैं, राइट्स इनको, द गवर्नमेंट ऑलवेज प्रोटेक्ट द राइट ऑफ द कॉमन मास, कॉमन पीपल. दैट्स द थिंग इज कॉल्ड फ्रीडम, द liberation. That's the called freedom, because every government is just have to protect the right of the common peoples. That's called the यही एक तरह की आजादी है जो हम हर एक आदमी को मिलनी चाहिए. मगर वहां पर ऐसा नहीं है. वहां पर इसलिए आजादी का मतलब कुछ और होता है. यार, मैं 2 साल जहाँ पर हो गया हूँ रहते हुए, और ये लोग जैसे मनाते हैं, जैसे सेलिब्रेट करते हैं, ये लोग हमारे लोग क्यों नहीं करते? क्योंकि हमारे लोगों को वो अधिकार मिले ही नहीं हुए हैं, हमको वो राइट मिले नहीं, तो वो आजादी को आजादी मानते ही नहीं है वहां पर. ऐसी बात है, 15 अगस्त जैसे आता है वैसे ही चला जाता है. मगर इनके लिए एक स्पेशल दिन है. क्यों? क्योंकि इनको इनका अधिकार, अब हम जहाँ पर रहे, गवर्नमेंट ने कैसी कैसी फैसिलिटीज, ये कोविड के दौरान ही यदि देख लीजिए तो कैसी कैसी लोगों को, एक नॉर्मल आदमी को भी इन्होंने पूरी तरह प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए अपना जो टैक्स का पैसा था वो वापस किया, और ये एक बहुत बड़ी बात है। तो हमारे वहां पर लूट मच गई, हमारे उल्ट हो गया, हमारे वहां पर उल्ट हो गया, चीजें महंगी हो गई, गवर्नमेंट ने लोगों का ख्याल रखना बंद कर दिया, भूखे मरने लोग शुरू हो गए, वहां पर आजादी का मतलब तो उल्ट हो गया। मैं ये बात करना चाहता हूँ कि आजादी और आजादी में कितना फर्क है, हमारी आजादी में और इधर की आजादी में कितना फर्क है, ये बात देखनी पड़ेगी।
The reason is because we don't educate our people. We don't talk about these things. Education is the key for these things. If people don't know कि we आजादी what it is about, किस तरह, who talks about the sacrifices made by the people? You talk about Gandhi and this and that and all that kind of stuff, which has no relevance to the rural people over there in their lives. What has happened around their villages, and people who have fought and people who have really served in the army and served in the independent Azadi Lehar, no one talks about them. So the only thing is celebrate the Chacha Nehru birthday and Gandhi birthday and all that kind of stuff.
Just only that.
Waste of time and no real education about the how hard and how many sacrifices were done to achieve that independence.
That's the real point, because on here just they remember always their leader who gives him freedom. If they are just proud on their leadership, but in our ways on there, nobody about the sacrifice, about the who when how the Bhagat Singh fight for that, how Bhagat Singh sacrifice, how Kartar Singh Sarabha sacrifice. In the age of 17th, he knew everything, how to fight, how to just about plane, about aeroplane, he knew everything. But our history not recognize him as patriot. That's the thing is to be on there, because जो हमारे लोग हैं ना वहाँ के, वो आजाद जो जिन्होंने आजाद कराया ना, उनको तो वो मानते ही नहीं है, वो देशभक्ति नहीं मानते। तो फिर आजादी का सुख कहाँ से मिलेगा? यदि आप अपने जिन्होंने कुर्बानी की है, जब आप उनको ही भूल जाएंगे तो फिर आजादी का सुख फिर कहाँ से आप मान सकोगे? ये भी बात है। और जहाँ पर लोग याद करते हैं, यहाँ पर यदि ये बात है कि जिन्होंने जहाँ पर लीडरशिप की है, जैसे हम इनके लीडर्स जो है उनके बारे में, डॉक्टर कृपाल सिंह जी टेल्स अबाउट द लीडर हु लीड्स देयर इंडिपेंडेंस in that time to just liberate these colonies from British capture.
Capture. I will ask Jasveer Singh ji to participate at this level. Then I'll join later.
Who leads this level?
First, I have to first quickly answer your question. When did the British first came?
Yeah,
they came on a ship called Mayflower, and that was in 1620. 1620 which I say. They're all refugees and people who wanted to migrate, and then because they were all suppressed in their home countries, they were all poor and not happy, and that's why they came. So that's why that 1620 is the date you wanted to ask. Now, the people who led the freedom struggle here were Thomas Jefferson, the doctor have said, George Washington was the first president of this country, and a few others. They were the main leaders who started this, and that's how. And first of all, because of slavery, many of the states did not want to join. Only a few states were ready to join for independence, and they were just the 13 colonies, as Dr. Sab said. So that was the starting point. Yeah.
Will you know about the colonies name about that? If you know that, then just describe for us that which state at that time.
It's often I do not know, but most of these were the northern states of the United States. Northern states of the United States. The later on, then not the Georgia, but Pennsylvania joined. Pennsylvania was the main state where the independence was declared. That's why we have the Bell of Liberty over there. in Pennsylvania. Philadelphia was the place. So that's where it started.
And Maryland and Virginia and all the 6 states of, in New England and New York, all these areas were part of those 13 states.
Yeah, the northeast and north states.
Yeah, that's right. But the important thing to remember over here is, that this grievance was based on because their voices were not heard. They were just like the right now farmers' agitation, like the Modi government put created these laws to suppress the farmers and all those kind of, they no voice, and that's why the agitation began. Similar kind of situation was when they increased the taxes, and then the people got angry and threw their tea, which they were going to sell with a high price, in the ocean. So there's a big parallel over here when the grievances go one after another. It's a reason why people want to be independent, why they want to declare, they want to attend to their own affairs. Whenever someone tries to over control the situation and make them slaves and follow their ways of life, you can only be pushed into the corner so long. Finally, for survival, you have to push them back. And that's what happened.
That's the thing.
The main thing is, I wanted to draw some parallel here, as Dr. Sab said first. The rise of Sikhism, in a way, starting from Guru Nanak, is a very close parallel to the development and evolution of United States of America, include up to the independence. Dr. Sab said 1699 creation of Khalsa. Guru Nanak came in 1469. He started preaching about Sikhism and his philosophy in 1499. So ultimately, India was ruled by first Lodi dynasty, then came Mughals. And the Sikhs struggled actually started right from Guru Nanak. Guru Nanak called these kings as dogs and tyrants. See that bravery of of Guru Nanak. It's just a saint calling a king as a tyrant. And they said Rajeshi Mukaddam Kutte, all those things. They call them dogs basically. So the whole struggle ultimately continued, and Guru Nanak, so after that we had some battles also, and the suppression of Sikhs and martyrdom of Guru Arjan Dev Ji, then Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, and all these things. Ultimately, the desire to free by the Sikhs continued all along, and just barely about 55 years after Guru Gobind Singh Ji left the scene, Sikhs, even though they were living in jungles, they still freed Punjab from the Mughals. Exactly. That's very, very important.
Yeah, rise of Bahadur, rise of Bahadur, how he destroyed the Wazir Khan, which was considered
right. But I'm saying that was only Wazir Khan, but the entire Punjab was freed from these people. And ultimately in 1783, just 1783, only 75 years after Guru Gobind Singh Ji, the Sikh missiles, Jassa Singh Ahluwalia and Ramgarhia, they conquered Delhi. They had the flag of independence on the Red Fort. If the rest of India had supported these Sikhs, India would have been a free country 200 years before.
Exactly.
So this didn't happen because everybody was looking for their own personal interests, all these Rajas and things like that. But the Sikhs had to withdraw because they were not a large population. In 1883, Sikhs were just a small group of people. So despite their small numbers, they still conquered the Mughal king, and Shah Alam was the king at that time. And he had to surrender before the Sikhs. All those, these landmarks in Delhi called Mori Gate and Tees Hazari, and all those places were named after the Sikhs. The Mori Gate is one where the Sikhs first blew the ball around Delhi and made a Mori. Mori means a hole through which they entered. Tees Hazari is the place where they house their soldiers, 30,000 soldiers. That's why called Tees Hazari.
That's called Tees
Hazari. Other landmarks, which are reminiscent of the conquer of Delhi by the Sikhs.
Right. And another thing here I want to add is, Anandpur, when it was surrounded by the Pahadi Rajas, who were Hindus.
Oh, yeah.
Pahadi Rajas were Hindus, and they were kind of by the conspiracies of the Brahmanbad and Pahadi Rajas. When they could not defeat Guru Gobind Singh's forces, then they asked the Delhi to help them.
Yes,
So
yes.
it was the
because
combined
of the
forces of the Hindus and Muslims who persecuted Guru Gobind Singh and his men, leading
That's right.
to the
Guru
evacuation
Sahib
of
never
Anandpur.
started any war. He didn't start any battle. Yeah, he never meant
So
to
they
start
were
any.
not pro-democracy. They were not pro-people. They were only for themselves.
Only for
That's
themselves.
why those combined forces of the Hindu Rajas, Pahadi Rajas, and Muslims got together to oppose them.
Yeah.
So they were
No, they invited
people.
the Hill Rajas. They invited the Mughal armies to fight.
Because on the land of at Rawalsar, Guru Gobind Singh Maharaj just beat these Rajas at their Pahadi Rajas at there and tells him about the value of liberalization, that you have to be liberate from the Delhi government from that time. But that Rajas, that kings not listen Guru Gobind Singh's voice at that time and not agree with the voice of Guru Gobind Singh Maharaj, and they just merge with the Delhi government at that time. They join just with the Delhi government and then attack on Guru Gobind Singh Maharaj at that time. Even at that time, the story is that.
Because the concept of freedom never was there in the minds of the people of India. They never believed that. They said, oh, Muslim Rajas, they are there. You know, once again, I like Dr. Brajendra Singh, what he said. You know, the whole idea of slavery of the mind, that's what we are talking today. Slavery of the mind. Tulsidas, who wrote the Ramayana, second Ramayana, he wrote in his poetry that Kaun Raja, Kaun Parja, hame kisi ko kao nahi. But sanu koi, we have no difference who rules us, who's a king, who cares. We are only worried about our own worship and all. So that was the notion, that they had no desire to be free. The freedom idea whole started with the Sikhs, and even the first people who started the idea of freedom, they were the Babur Khalsa.
Yeah,
and they were all of them were shot. Then it started the Gadar movement in the United States.
Yeah,
and
Akali
Canada.
Gadar movement. Yeah,
The Gadar party, and there were 5 people.
Yeah,
There were 6 people. They started, and they were all hanged because they had the British influence in Canada. So that's how sacrifice started. But rest of India never bothered. They never cared. They didn't believe in freedom.
Because
same Gandhi, I don't want to criticize him. Well, he had a great idea of non-violence, and that's the way he fought. But when he was in South Africa, he wrote in the editorials of his paper that the British are a superior people, or a superior race. So where was the concept of freedom? So this is, but the question is, I hate to say that freedom has come to India only to a small elite group of people.
Yeah.
But the masses of India, they designated them as Dalits or backward classes or whatever, all those ABCDs names. They are not free. They are not free. How can they be free?
Even now they are not free. Even now they are not free.
So
they have to beg for the basis for education and for the name of reservation, which is a charity. You know, they're given a charity of reservation with the condition that, okay, you accept yourself as Dalits or low class.
Right.
Because Sikhs and our peoples, they know about the value of the independence. But those peoples are just only satisfied from the reservation only that.
Yes, my point again back, the reason why we're celebrating today, July 4th, is it has 2 aspects, American aspect and the Sikh perspective, and even third, Indian perspective. You know, unless we look at all those factors and how they interplay with each other, what lessons we can learn from it, then our participation in July 4th will be not really that useful for us if we don't bring about those backgrounds and analyze them and then formulate a future policy that how we can maintain our freedom. Vijendra Singh ji, what is your view about this situation?
नहीं यार, आपने बहुत बहुत एकदम जो कायदे की बात है वही कही है कि हमारे यहाँ भी आजादी में काले चले गए, गोरे लोग चले गए, काले आ गए, और वो गुलामी वहीं की वहीं रही जहाँ थी। बल्कि अंग्रेज जब थे यहाँ पर तो वो कम से कम बैलेंस मेंटेन करते थे, और अब जो सत्ताधारी आ गए वो बैलेंस भी मेंटेन नहीं करते। तो आजादी का मतलब इंसाफ की लड़ाई होनी चाहिए और हर किसी को उसका हक मिलना चाहिए। अगर वो समाज में जो लोग जो वंचित लोग हैं, अगर उनको पढ़ने लिखने को नहीं मिलेगा तो पूरे समाज का नुकसान है। तो मगर ये है कि स्वार्थ में आदमी अंधा हो जाता है, लोभ में अंधा हो जाता है। स्वार्थ और लोभ ये सबसे बड़े दुश्मन है आदमी के। अंग्रेज चले गए, हम सोचते हैं हम आजाद हो गए, लेकिन हम देखते हैं कि जो लोग सत्ता में आ गए वो अंग्रेजों ने जो नहीं किया वो
इन्होंने कर
काले लोगों ने करके दिखा दिया।
तो और आगे क्या होगा वो भी मालूम नहीं है। और ये भी क्योंकि जब हम आजादी की वैल्यू को समझेंगे ना, हमारे लोगों ने, यदि हम जो सिखों का जो यदि योगदान बीच में निकाल दें तो शायद आज तक भारत गुलाम ही होता। यदि इनको वो अपने अंडर ना करते ब्रिटिश, शायद आज तक भारत गुलाम होता। ये बात भी हो सकती है, क्योंकि बाकियों को तो आजादी की वैल्यू का अब तक कई बार मालूम नहीं पड़ा। अब तक वो लोग रिजर्वेशन से या थोड़े से दाना पानी से वो खुश हो जाते हैं, और हमारे लोग अब तक कई बार राइट्स की मांग करते हैं, क्योंकि राइट्स की मांग वही करेगा जो आजादी की वैल्यू को समझता है। और
even if you look at the fall of the Sikh Empire, Ranjit Singh's empire, who was fighting against them? Fall of the empire, the Purbiya people, the people from the east, they were fighting under the British command against the Sikhs. And the Dogras also fighting and trying to deceiving them. Who were those? Those are Hindus.
Because
leadership. They were trying to destroy again the Sikh, whatever they had accomplished over the years, in a short time. They were so jealous of it, they wanted to destroy it and just wanted to acquire it by hook or crook for themselves. That's what led to the collapse of the Sikh Empire.
Because one thing I added in that discussion, that when the British captured whole Punjab at that time, after 1 year, the war of independence started by Maharaj Singh, who just sacrificed in Singapore at that time. Bhai Maharaj Singh, and they start because he's the first warrior who sacrificed for the country at them. Even our all countrymen don't know who is the first warrior for the independence, our independence of India. Even we don't know. And when we we see that the first warrior is Bhai Maharaj Singh from Maharaj Singh army. He was a great person at that time, and British just punish him to send him in the Kala Pani at that time. And after that, in the Singapore, he just died at that time on there.
Same about Baba Ram Singh. He was the one who they
come in 1969 at that time, but Bhai Maharaj Singh, they just sacrificed in 1950, even at that time.
Correct.
He was the first.
Not 1950. It could be not 1950.
Just like that.
1850.
So my point
something.
again is the point. It is
18. Sorry.
It is the opposition under the Brahmanbad policies that was always so dear to these people. No matter what, they were willing to lose their freedom, but maintain that as a part of their pride. And that's where the negotiation between Brahmanvad and the non-Brahman people cannot be accepted and cannot be carried out for the future if we want to live as a free people. What do you think, Vijendra Singh ji?
हाँ साहब, देखिए हम तो ये समझते हैं कि जो अगर आज़ादी का मतलब है कि शिक्षा और जो बुनियादी जरूरतें हैं आदमी को अगर नहीं मिलेंगी तो समाज का विकास नहीं हो सकता। तो अगर 2-3% लोग अगर मुट्ठी में शिक्षा को, संपत्ति को कर लेते हैं तो समाज का पतन होना है। तो लोकतंत्र में ये माना गया था कि सामाजिक न्याय मिलेगा और देश की आवाम जो है वो इंतजार कर रहा था कि भाई न्याय दिया जाएगा। लेकिन ईमानदारी से आप देखिए, आजादी से पहले मुसलमानों का रिप्रेजेंटेशन करीब 45% था। 42% से लेकर के 48% तक जुडिशरी में, एग्जीक्यूटिव में था। चाचा नेहरू का समाजवाद आया, इंदिरा गांधी का समाजवाद आया, और फिर वो जो मुस्लिम थे वो 2% तक करीब करीब सरकारी नौकरियों में रह गए। यही हालत ईसाइयों की हुई, ये हालत और लोगों की हुई। तो जो सोचा गया था कि भाई न्याय मिलेगा, तो न्याय का तो जस्ट उल्टा हो गया। आज बताते हैं, जब पार्लियामेंट में सवाल पूछता है कोई प्राइम कि भाई ब्राह्मण अकेला कितना आईएएस में, तो पता चलता है 80% है। तो ये तो कोई आजादी नहीं है। आजादी का मतलब जो जातिवादी अगर 80% सत्ता में रहेगा तो समाज में सांप्रदायिकता, जातिवाद बढ़ेगा। अगर न्याय देना है तो सबका भागीदारी होनी चाहिए। तो
देखो जी, साथ ये भी बात है ना कि हम गवर्नमेंट को ब्लेम ही नहीं कर सकते, हम अपने आप को भी ब्लेम करना चाहिए। या अमेरिकन पीपल स्ट्रगल फॉर देयर ओन राइट्स देमसेल्व्स, you know, so just if we don't struggle for our rights, then the government is always want to do what is best for them. So the responsibility lies on us to educate our families, educate our neighborhoods, educate our people, so that they can rise up like the American people did against Britain. This is the lesson from July 4th.
Yes, just because we always depend on others, that they care about us, but we don't depend on ourselves.
That's the what we need to learn from here.
सवाल ये है कि चाचा नेहरू का समाजवाद, इंदिरा गांधी का समाजवाद एक जाति विशेष के फायदे में क्यों रहा? बाकी लोग हिंसा के और अन्याय के शिकार क्यों हो रहे हैं इस देश में, और जबकि संविधान भी वही चल रहा है? तो खास बात यह है कि ये आपने सही कहा है कि हम भी जिम्मेदार हैं उसके, कि हम सो रहे हैं और हम जालिम से उम्मीद कर रहे हैं कि वो न्याय देगा, और उसने हर पोजीशन को कैप्चर किया हुआ है। नतीजा ये है कि जो बेचारे इनोसेंट लोग हैं वो सफर कर रहे हैं।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल। और अब हम समाप्ति की तरफ चलें। वी आर जस्ट गोइंग टू एंड दिस प्रोग्राम, एंड भाटिया साहब जस्ट टेल्स योर लास्ट व्यूज अबाउट द इंडिपेंडेंस डे ऑफ यूनाइटेड स्टेट ऑफ अमेरिका।
Well, you know, the Constitution of America after independence, it's a model constitution for the whole world. First of all, the Constitution of the United States starts, we the people. We the people. You see, that's very, very important. It includes all people of the United States, of anybody. Secondly, in God we trust. And all people, regardless of their age, of their religion, of their social background and country of origin, have an equal right to participate in the work of this country, and they have a right to improve their lives. It's up to them now. From US government, there's no discrimination of any kind. And that part is missing in India. That part is very, very important. That's why everybody wants to run to the United States, because the moment you enter, there's certain freedom in the air. In India, just say Dr. Mandeep Singh said, it's not just the education, it's the feeling that I'm a free person and I can live with my free will. You know, I don't know, I've seen a movie recently where a Dalit family, their son was getting married and he was on a horse, like we have Godi, you know, Godi ke upar jata hai na wo, Dulha. And it was passing through an area which was inhabited by the Thakurs, of the rich people. And it seems to me that us area mein, there are Dalit people could not ride a horse. Some parts of India. And the Thakur shot the boy and his father. And that's a movie. I mean, so question is, where is the freedom then? Why a person, because he is a low caste, he is Dalit, he has no right to ride a horse for his marriage day, and there are people who cannot sit on a chair before a person of higher caste. This is not freedom. The ability to live with freedom is to live with one's own free will and seek equal justice and be treated fairly. That's called freedom.
Yes, that's very
So
important.
I think this is something very important. And second thing, what Dr. Saab said and Vijender Singh said, we people are responsible for our own self. We have to rise. When there's injustice, we can't say, oh, maybe somebody else will take care. We keep sleeping. Sleeping. In this country, Black Lives Matter is a great movement going on.
Yeah.
Because there is some kind of still discrimination. And police has killed many people, black people, unfortunately, and for very minor faults, minor offenses. So the whole country is up in arms. The whole country is rising against
that is their voice about that.
Yes. Whole country is rising up, including the white people.
Yeah.
That's called freedom.
That's called freedom.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And
This, the Guru Nanak Sahib and Japji Sahib says, "Appe bij appe hi kha, Nanak hukmiya waja." When he says "Appe bij appe hi kha," he's taking us as a people responsible. We can't blame other people for our shortcomings, our difficulties, and all. That's where the freedom lies. Freedom is not a gift by the state. Freedom is God-given gift.
Yes.
We are born as free people, but we have to recognize that by following the principles which have been passed on to us. Unless we review them and reflect upon them and act upon them, we cannot be free people.
विजेंद्र सिंह जी, आप अपने व्यूज रखिए। पर हम
वो तो मुझे कबीर की याद आ रही है। उन्होंने कहा है कि सुखिया सब संसार है, खावे और सोवे, दुखिया दास कबीर है, जागे और रोवे। तो जो लोग जगे हुए हैं, उनका ये फर्ज बनता है कि जिनके साथ अन्याय हो रहा है उनको उनका हक मिलना चाहिए। हमारे यहाँ देश में लोकतंत्र आया तो हमारे संविधान में सामाजिक न्याय की बात की गई। सामाजिक न्याय का मतलब होता है प्रोपोर्शनल रिप्रेजेंटेशन। अगर बैकवर्ड क्लास 52% है तो उसको 51% पे भी एग्री नहीं होना चाहिए। वो 50 गणित है 52%, लेकिन पता चला कि 27 के लिए वो तैयार हो गए। भाई क्यों तैयार हो गए? कारण ये है कि जिन लोगों के हाथ में हमने सत्ता दे दी है वो उनको इंसाफ से कोई लेना देना नहीं है, उनको अपनी मोनोपोली से लेना देना है। तो हमको खुद जगना पड़ेगा और अपने हकों के लिए लड़ना पड़ेगा। आजादी का मतलब यही होता है। आजादी जालिम से उम्मीद मत करिए कि वो आपको इंसाफ देगा।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल।
So in other words, जो आजादी है, it begins from your own home. Like charity begins from home, same way the concept of freedom begins from your own home. If within your own home you don't practice the ideas of freedom, ideas of liberty, then how can you expect other people to help you with them? So again, when Guru Maharaj ne when he created Khalsa, what he said, gave the mission. Khalsa so jo nirdan ko paale, Khalsa so jo dush ko gaale.
That's good. Yeah, that's the point.
And that is a point which is to maintain azadi, freedom.
Yes.
But you have to have those committed people to work on that. That's why Kabir Sahib ne use kita word Khalsa. Khalse ke mein jaan ke mein Khalse bane. Azadi jadi a concept, the power comes from our Creator. That's where trust in God comes. That's where Omkar concept comes. Satnam comes. Unless they are implemented and practiced in our daily lives, we cannot dream of azadi. ਮੂੰਹ ਨਾਲ ਜੋ ਆਜ਼ਾਦੀ ਕਹਿਣ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਿਲਦੀ, ਆਜ਼ਾਦੀ ਕਰਨ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮਿਲਦੀ ਹੈ।
दूसरी गल हैगी है कि जिन्हों वाहिगुरु ने बहुता दिता ना, जिसको ज्यादा दिया है, यदि वो अपने आप को समझे कि मैंने दूसरे पर डोमिनेट नहीं होना है, मैंने उसको भी अपने बराबर ही समझना, चाहे उसको काम भी मिला है मगर मैंने उसका राइट प्रोटेक्ट करना है जी, उसके ऊपर भी थोड़ा सा डिपेंड करता है। यदि वो डोमिनेट करने को हमेशा करेगा कि अपनी वो सुपीरियरिटी जो है वो दिखाने की बात करेगा, तो फिर जो नीचे वाले की आजादी जो है वो खतरे में पड़ जाएगी। मगर यदि वो बराबर समझेगा ना, तो इस बात का जो है एक ऑप्शन रहेगा कि जो आजादी है उसकी भी जो है वो सलामत रहेगी। ये होने भी बहुत जरूरी है बात। और जस्ट आई एम I would like to thank our respected guest, Dr. Kirpal Singh ji, Bhatia Sahab, Bajendra Singh ji, who has joined this discussion. So I am again thanks to our guest about that. And Bhatia Sahab want to describe something.
It's a very important constitution amendment, one, which is so much talked about in USA.
Yeah.
And see the importance of that.
Mm-hmm.
The Amendment 1 of the Constitution is the Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. That anybody has a right to exercise their religion or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of the grievances. I'm saying now that the people have a right to peacefully ask the government to redress their grievance against certain laws. And see what's happening in India right now. There's no free press. And people and farmers are peacefully requesting the government to repeal these laws, and they are not listening. Here in this country, the very first amendment says that if people are not happy with the certain laws, they have a right to address the government.
Yes, but on their government not listening that things. So many people are gathering at there on the Delhi borders, but no one is listening about that. And
they don't care. They don't care.
If they don't care, when the election comes, people don't care about that such a type of that leaders.
Well, who knows? They always have ways to win election by fraud, by whatever, by manipulating the machines. Anyhow, that's a different story.
Right. And the another factor is that the reason why it happens that way in India is they don't care what the Constitution says. It's the Chanakya principles. Big fish has the right to eat the small fish. That's their way of operation. They don't care कि भाई बड़े आदमी जिहड़े आ छोटियां दा हक ना मारन. ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੱਕ ਮਾਰਨਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ that's ethical. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਲਈ ethical है ये. That's what Chanakya says. ਕੀ ख्याल है बजेंद्र सिंह जी?
बिल्कुल साहब, देखिए जिसे आप भारतवर्ष की जो सामाजिक व्यवस्था है उसे वो है जातिवादी, और उसका सामाजिक न्याय से कोई लेना देना नहीं है. उसको अन्याय करना ही करना है, वो अन्याय पे जीवित है. तो वो लोग जो वंचित किए जा रहे हैं उनमें जागृति हो, और वो सत्ताधारियों में ऐसे लोगों को न बिठाएं जो कि न्याय नहीं देना चाहते. एक ही इलाज है इसका, और कोई इलाज नहीं हो सकता.
हाँ जी, so
thank you.
हाँ जी, समाप्त करिए जी. थैंक्स अ लॉट ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ. ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ. I hope that you have just enjoyed this discussion. Whatever my English is not too much great, but I enjoyed too much this program. Thanks a lot, all the guests. वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा,
वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा.